Reef DVM's coming at you on a snowy day here. We pulled this devil out of my neighbor's weeds and we're just trying to fix it up to make it workable. I don't know if many of you can recognize it, but we added some pipe to it and tried to straighten out a few other pieces of it. But it's a JD Adams Road Patrol that needed a little bit of help. These machines were first developed for road grading by the J.D. Adams Company around 1890. I figure this one was probably made between 1900 and 1910. Normally, these were pulled by horses. They had two wheels in the back, two wheels in the front, a seat, and kind of a footrest where the operator would sit on the back as the unit was worked. In this situation, the blade was totally destroyed, so I had to kind of improvise and make things work with a new blade, or at least what was left of the old blade, with some used blades that we had found on the place. Welded up some holders, welded some cracked parts back together. We don't have the front axle and front steel wheels, they weren't recoverable out of the weeds. So basically, I kind of improvised my own blade to get this thing back up and running. Talk about redneck farmer style, but then we basically sprayed it with some black primer and then some black paint. Actually, it wasn't black primer, it was black rust converter, and then some black Rust-Oleum paint, and tried to bring this beast back to life. It it's one of these pieces of equipment that's not needed very often on the farm. We got a half-mile long driveway, and only on occasion do we actually need to blade it like this. Traditionally, we use either our Harrow or we have a TR3 rake that we can use to repair the driveway. But sometimes it's nice to be able to take the edge of the driveway, put this at a tilt, and push it back into the center and kind of make a crown back on the road. And this old beast, which has been sitting in the field off in the corner for years, really hasn't been very functional. And I think with a little TLC, I can turn this into something that I can use. Not bad for really a 120 some year old piece of equipment, potentially. For sure, these things were built solid, but after a while, the steel and the iron on them just kind of goes to pot. So here we are, we've got the blade rebuilt to the best of my ability, kind of redneck farmer style, but I think it'll work. Once we got that done, we got an edge on the front of it, and you can see that bolted onto the back. It was kind of intended that way. It was never meant to be a little longer on each side, but yeah, that's kind of the way it worked. I figure a little extra blade can't hurt at this point. This blade assembly right now probably weighs about 70 pounds. The original one that was on here was probably somewhere around 7 to 8 feet long. It's hard to tell. Again, it was kind of beaten up and worn, and the brackets were wrecked, so I had to kind of improvise my own. Back to the machine here, as you can see, one of the rods was totally broken, so I took an old piece of pipe and made a new rod for it. The front of it we're setting up for a hitch pin method. Again, right there would have been an axle with two wheels in the front, and obviously that's gone at this point. And this would have been pulled by horses. J.D. Adams was the first one to create a horse-driven or horse-pulled, excuse me, road grader like this. So I don't know what the value of this thing is, but it's probably under $1,000. So here we are. I got the blade on it. Snowy November day, but it's all been reassembled. Put some grease back on things, lube it up, try to bend the steel wheels back into circles the best I could. Take the steering wheel, not steering wheels, but the two, well, I guess you call them steering wheels, the two wheels that raise and lower the grader, and kind of get those repaired the best I could. There's two concrete blocks sitting right where the person would stand. Unfortunately, those have kind of built themselves into the concrete by the previous owner, so I'm just going to leave those. They add weight anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. The axle itself is in fairly decent shape, and so is the carriage. Yeah, it's full of rust, but you know what? A little bit of rust converter and some black spray paint, and I can make this usable probably for another 20, 30 years. I hate wasting things, folks. It's nice to recycle, don't get me wrong, but in this case, this piece of equipment still has some valuable life left in it. So now what we're going to do is kind of drag it off into the weeds where I can get the spray guns out and the cans of spray paint and work with it. I'm going to make this into something that's usable in the place. So here we are. I'm about halfway sprayed up. As you can see, I'm respraying the blade on the bottom. That is because I took it out and tried it before we painted it up. This point here is pretty much a rust converter, and then I've got some cans of Rust-Oleum there sitting off to the side that I'm going to use on it. But I rust converted it first, and then once I got the rust converter on, then we hit it with the Rust-Oleum product. I don't intend the paint to last perfectly, but it'll certainly give it some more longevity. The machine is definitely worn. Gosh knows how many years of service this thing has put in. But as you can see, it really does come to life. This is a view from the back side. I got the whole front now rust converted. It really looks nice, folks. I think this thing will be quite usable here on the farm with us with kind of a hitch method. I think it's going to work really good. So here it is. It's all converted at this point. I'm ready to spray it black. There isn't going to be much difference from this picture to when I spray paint it black because, it's just the way it is. I think the original color was either red or orange, but I went black because that's what we like. There's the actual nameplate on it. It is cracked, but it's still on there, which is kind of cool. So we painted that up too. At this point, it's painted black, folks. I know it's kind of hard to tell with all the rust and stuff, but it's going to be quite usable for us. I appreciate you watching. Please like or subscribe to our channel. We'll keep putting out great videos like this on farm products. This is the resurrection of the J.D. Adams Road Patrol Grader. Thank you, folks.